Hey guys, it's Robin. Welcome back to Wellness Wednesday. You know, the last couple weeks we've talked a lot about some of the toxic ingredients that are in the products under the sinks of our very own homes. Here's the thing, guys. I'm just a mom who's done a lot of research. But in that research, I have found that I am one of the only people on this planet who has my family's true health in mind. And the truth is, you are one of the only people who are going to advocate for your own family's health and wellness as well. Unfortunately, we do live in a day and age where not everybody has our family's best interest in mind. I've actually been in a pediatrician's office where I have been mommy shamed and kind of poked fun at for reading all the mommy blogs and doing kind of my own research, and actually been told that I need to stop doing all that and to just kind of do what I've been told to do. And honestly, yes, I read some of those mommy blogs, but a lot of the information I get is actually from our government and from my own pediatrician's office where they have the pamphlets on the wall. But I digress. What I want to do for you guys today, so that you're not following this mommy blog, I actually have a couple extra guests here. I have one of the directors of the FDA herself and a few of our very own congressmen and women. Let's do this.
First, can the FDA require a review of baby lotion for safety before it comes to market?
No, we cannot.
Can the FDA require the manufacturer not to use a toxic ingredient, for example, formaldehyde, in its baby lotion?
No.
Is the manufacturer required to register with the FDA before selling its baby lotion?
No.
So I think my first statement is becoming truer. Once the baby lotion comes to market, can the FDA require safety information about the baby lotion?
No.
If the baby lotion has caused bad reactions in the babies, can the FDA require a recall?
No.
If the manufacturer is aware of the baby's bad reactions, would the manufacturer be required to report that to the FDA?
No.
Well, I think everybody's paying rapt attention here.
I was most definitely paying close attention after I saw that clip on Instagram that somebody had posted. Okay, first confession, I don't really have some of the congressmen and women or the director of the FDA here in my house. I'm not that important. But when I saw that clip on Instagram, I did some digging and I found that entire hearing on the internet, and I watched the entire 3.5 hours worth. So what I have done for you is taken a couple little clips here and there from some of the different congressmen and women asking questions to the FDA and getting these answers that we are all super interested in, or we should be.
Given all the no's that you just answered, I think we have a real problem on our hands.
You heard it directly from her mouth. Here's my other confession. When I first started doing all this research, I kept reading things like the FDA doesn't regulate this and the FDA doesn't enforce that. And I was really super irritated with the FDA, and I thought that they just were kind of lazy. But the truth is, the FDA has not been able to update a lot of their regulations since the 1930s. That's over 80 years. And a lot of things have come on the market in those 80 years, and now, as a country, we're kind of working backwards in this situation. Okay, so most of these clips that I've snagged are somewhere between 30 seconds and a minute long. They're not very long at all. But this first one's just a little bit longer because it shows some of the authority, or should I say lack of authority, that the FDA has over the cosmetic industry.
So you have no authority, is it true, to have registration of cosmetics companies?
That's correct. It's voluntary.
Do we know how many, so you don't know what you don't know? right?
Our best guess is approximately a third of manufacturers have registered in our voluntary program.
There's no mandatory recall, is that correct?
That is correct.
And are they required to report serious adverse events?
They are not.
I just want to point out in 2018, there were 2,727,848 lines of cosmetics that were imported from 177 countries. Is it true that only 289 were actually sampled?
What I have is a percentage. We examined 0.2% of imported lines. Less than 1%.
Right. You testified that, quote, cosmetics firms are responsible for the safety of their products and ingredients, and, quote, in our experience, most firms are responsible actors, unquote. How do you know that?
I mean, when we have had concerns, we have had companies that have worked with us. But I think your point is well taken in that we don't have access to the safety data, so we really do not know what safety data exists out there to substantiate that. But given our experience in the market, we're not aware of adverse events with the vast majority of cosmetic products.
Are you aware that in 2018 there was a study by the Breast Cancer Prevention Partners and found that the most toxic product it tested was a shampoo called Just For Me that is marketed to young black girls. Are you aware of that?
I have heard the report of that study, correct.
And so what authority do you have to act on that?
So again, the burden would be on FDA to demonstrate that the inclusion of whatever compounds they were defining as being toxic in that product, the burden would be on us to demonstrate that renders the product injurious to humans. So it's a safety burden on the FDA to prove that data. We would need to create our own data because we cannot rely on industry's data necessarily because they don't need to provide that data to us.
But do you have the authority to examine all ingredients that are in cosmetics?
To examine all ingredients in cosmetics would be daunting. As you noted, there are literally, tens of thousands of ingredients. What we do is we prioritize the ones where we have safety concerns that come to our attention. We utilize our authorities wherever possible.
The chairwoman just gave an example of other countries that actually have banned these products. Is that not calling it to our attention?
Certainly that has raised the visibility of the issue with regard to the cosmetics regulatory framework we have in the United States today.
So sad. I really hope it is getting our attention.
Registration is different from pre-market review, is that correct? Would you explain the difference?
So in a pre-market review, a company would come to us with a new ingredient, whatever that may be, some new technology, some nanomaterial, whatever it may be. They would come to us in a pre-market way and say, is it safe for inclusion in cosmetics? We do not have that authority. Instead, what we have is a post-market one, which is after it's been introduced into the market, we may have a concern about a safety, and then we would act. So it's not preventing, it's rather acting once we see evidence of harm.
Well, it strikes me as common sense that FDA should have greater information regarding the cosmetic products that Americans use every day, including the ingredients in these products, especially since so many are now imported from countries outside of the United States.
I hate that she had to say acting once we see evidence of harm. And it really should be common sense that the FDA has more knowledge and power over the products that we as Americans are using every day in our homes. Okay, mamas of little girls, especially those preteens who are really looking at a lot of those fun end cap perfumes or glittery lotions or whatever, this one's for you.
One particularly alarming example of the shortcomings of the current system involves asbestos-tainted products marketed to kids and teens. Earlier this year, FDA detected asbestos in products manufactured by both Claire's and Justice Retail, two chains that primarily market their products to kids and teens. And after FDA notified Claire's of its findings, it took nearly a week for the company to agree to take their asbestos-tainted products off the store shelves. I don't think that's acceptable, but unless we equip FDA with the tools and resources the agency needs, we're going to continue to see frightening issues with these products for years to come.
And for the average teen, it's close to 20 products a day. And in sampling a teen's blood, the blood and urine, the EWG found 16 hormone-altering chemicals. The safety of our personal care and cosmetic products is critically important for women and girls because of the impact on their reproductive health and health throughout the lifespan.
I know we talk a lot about protecting our girls' hormonal health, but I think our boys' hormonal health is just as important too. And a lot of these products are having effects on them as well, if nothing more than because of the fragrance that are in these products. And maybe the boys aren't using the products on their bodies, but they're sitting next to the girls in class and they're smelling all of these products themselves. So I think it's just as important that we're protecting our boys and our girls at the same time. Speaking of fragrance,
sites and other digital
What's
means.
bad in fragrances?
So
I want to know if
there-
I'm spraying something on myself that smells fabulous, but is
Don't spray it.
maybe doing me in.
Yeah, so, well, thankfully,
Don't spray?
Women's Voices of the Earth did an exhaustive review of the 3,000 chemicals that can be used in fragrance, and they did find 7 of those chemicals, so not all of them, but 7 of them are known carcinogens. 15 of them have been banned in more than 40 countries around the world. So there are certainly chemicals in fragrance that are linked to serious health effects and don't have to be disclosed, so consumers can't simply shop around them.
for my friends who have any darker skin color than I do, unfortunately, there's some really valuable information for you guys about how some of your skincare products are the most toxic that are even in our country.
You know, I was disappointed to see, like with many other issues, that there are substantial racial disparities when it comes to the dangers associated with the cosmetic products. A study by the Environmental Working Group found that African American women use products at a higher rate than white women, and what they used was proportionately less safe. Testing 1,177 products targeted for sale to African American women, the results showed that 1 out of 12 products were rated highly hazardous to human health. Potential dangers connected to product ingredients include cancer, hormone disruption, developmental and reproductive damage, allergies, and other adverse health effects. This data is particularly concerning to me because I have a district that's nearly 90% Latino and African American. Dr. Main, what more can be done to address these racial disparities in cosmetics? And will any of the bills today help?
I think the goal we all share is making sure that these cosmetic products are safe for all consumers. And some of the new authorities that are contemplated in the legislation would certainly be helpful for that. At the same time, I want to commit that we are always concerned about vulnerable populations who may have heightened disease risk. At the FDA, we have an Office of Women's Health. We have an Office of Minority Health. We are sensitive to those issues, and we're happy to work with any individual communities that may have a disproportionate risk or need additional safety information. That includes, in some circumstances, language translation. Safety advisories can go out in both English and in Spanish. So we're always sensitive to the needs of specific populations.
Is there any tracking that's done from reports of products that impact communities of color?
Again, we don't even know at this point who manufactures these products or what are in the market.
Great, thank you.
Thanks for tuning in this week. And if you have any questions about any of this, please reach out. I don't have all the answers, but like I said, I have done a lot of research. And I've taken the time to actually section off the entire testimony of the director of the FDA explaining all the regulations that they do have authority over and that they don't, and some of the systems and how the companies have to register their products and how they don't. And I will include that at the end of this video over on my YouTube channel. So if you'd like to hear more of that, please check me out over there. And until next time, I got your back.
It is time to act. It is the legislation that has a name that is regulated, and yet it is not regulated, and we need to move aggressively right now to protect. There is no question that unregulated cosmetic industry is a public health hazard.
However, FDA's cosmetics authorities were established in 1938. It's important that we recognize that since 1938, the cosmetics industry has grown significantly in its size and in the variety and complexity of products now available to consumers. These changes help bring new opportunities and choices to consumers. However, the industry now relies on a global supply chain, and when problems or questions arise, we may need to trace cosmetics and cosmetic ingredients across the globe. We now regularly see cosmetics imported each year from up to 180 different countries. Yet, other than a discrete set of authorities covering color additives, our authorities have not been modernized in more than 80 years. FDA's cosmetic program has remained small and receives about 3% of CIFSAN's total budget. In recent years, we've had the resources to conduct fewer than 100 domestic and 4 foreign inspections per year. Of the more than 2.7 million lines of cosmetics imported in fiscal year 2018 from more than 30,000 foreign firms, we are able to physically examine around 0.2% of imported lines. While it will be up to Congress whether to provide the FDA with additional authorities and/or resources to regulate cosmetics, it is important that the subcommittee and the American public understand the scope of the current cosmetics program. Under our authority, cosmetics must not be adulterated or misbranded. However, with the exception of color additives, cosmetics and their ingredients are not subject to pre-market approval requirements or FDA safety review. Therefore, we don't know whether cosmetic ingredients have gone through adequate, if any, safety testing. We encourage cosmetic manufacturers to voluntarily register products and list their ingredients with the FDA before marketing products to American consumers. But because registration and product listing are voluntary, FDA does not have a complete picture of what cosmetic products are on the market or what ingredients they contain. Cosmetics firms can voluntarily decide whether to notify FDA of adverse events associated with their products, or whether they will provide FDA access to records during an inspection. However, it is not required that firms report adverse events or provide records access to FDA. FDA has issued a draft guidance on good manufacturing practices for cosmetic products, though firms are not required to follow good manufacturing practices. FDA works with firms to voluntarily recall a product when we identify a safety issue, as we have been doing with talc-containing cosmetic products contaminated with asbestos. However, we do not have mandatory recall authority for cosmetic products. It is FDA's experience that most firms are responsible actors. They care about consumer safety and the reputations of their brands. When a safety problem occurs, however, FDA is reliant on a company's willingness to voluntarily provide us with information to aid in our inquiry. In our experience, we are not always able to compel companies to give us all the information we request to aid in our investigation, and we have limited recourse to address the problem. While Congress continues to explore modernizing the regulation of cosmetics, the committee should keep in mind the basic elements of a modern regulatory framework to protect public health. Mandatory registration and listing of products and their ingredients, so the agency knows who's making the regulated products and what's in them. Explicit authority to establish good manufacturing practice regulations. Mandatory company reporting of adverse events. Access to records during routine or for-cause inspections. Mandatory recall authority, mandatory disclosure of known cosmetic allergens on a product's label, and sufficient additional resources to implement these public health protections. And if an ingredient review program is a priority for the committee, the program should be meaningful and workable. Thank you again for the opportunity to testify before the subcommittee. I look forward to answering any